y'all, how everybody doing? Today we watching Scary Time reaction. This is different. My other scary video is be the same, just some changing today. True creepy McDonald's experience homes movies The Little Mediums. If you want watch it for self, link be in description. Please subscribe and hit the bell. Thanks. Trying make 1K subscribe. Thank you so much. Please.
A friend finally convinced me to share this story, since she's always teasing me with it. I'm a 23-year-old male in Florida, fairly introverted, and I hardly get out of the house. This encounter happened a few months ago. It was about 12 a.m. and I was getting a bit stir-crazy and needed to get out and just chill with someone. So I texted a special lady friend of mine. We made plans to do our normal routine of hanging out at this nice secluded park. I went and picked her up. We drove past our spot and spent a couple of hours just chatting about anything and everything. Then she got hungry, so we decided to hop in the car and drive down the road a bit to McDonald's. Hooray for 24/7 fast food. This is where things started getting weird though. We arrived at the McDonald's and went inside instead of through the drive-thru. She ordered her food while I went to the restroom to wash my hands. I'm a bit of a neat freak. I really wish I hadn't gone into the restroom that night. As soon as I walked in, I saw this guy standing at one of those heater-dryer things. Alright, not too weird. But then I noticed that he was kind of hunched over at it and wasn't moving. Whatever, I chose to ignore him. I washed my hands, but then I realized that he's standing at the only dryer in the place. The damn paper towels are also empty. So I awkwardly try to ask the guy if he was done using the dryer. He doesn't respond. Thoroughly creeped out, I just walk out and dry my hands on my shirt. I get out of the restroom and find my friend, and we sit down at a table to eat. Maybe 20 minutes go by, and we're headed back out to the car to go back to our spot. Well, my friend has to use the restroom, so I figure I might as well also. I mean, surely that guy had to be gone by now, right? Wrong. That guy is still standing at the dryer, mumbling something to himself now. I go into the stall and take a leak, and I can hear him hitting the button on the dryer over and over again. I wash my hands again and don't even attempt to get at the dryer, but the guy moves just as I'm trying to walk past him. He steps back, right in my path, and just looks at me. I notice he's around my age. He just stares at me and says, "Excuse me." Okay. I put my head down and quickly say, "Pardon me," and rush around him to get out of the restroom. 30 seconds later, as I'm waiting for my friend to get out of the ladies' restroom, the guy walks out. He just sits down at a table near me and just staring straight at me. My friend walks out and notices the creep just eyeballing me. She jokingly asks, "Make a new friend in there?" I just shake my head at her and try to lead her out to the car without making it obvious that I'm wanting to run from the guy. And then he does the weirdest thing. He just starts cackling like a madman. I mean, straight up Joker laugh. I'm thinking to myself, "Oh shit, this crazy druggy dude is gonna do something bad." He then just stops suddenly, looks down at my feet, and says, "Nice shoes, Osiris." Osiris is a brand of shoe, by the way. I managed to stutter, "Thanks," and I walk away quickly, out to the car. As my friend and I are getting in, we notice the guy staring at me from inside the McDonald's, just straight eyeballing me, death stare. He then stands up and starts booking it towards us. He wasn't running, but he was like speed walking. He bursts through both doors of the McDonald's and starts coming right at us. Now he looks angry. I pulled out of the parking lot so fast, it's a damn good thing the roads were empty. My friend and I went back to our spot and hung out some more. Every car we saw in the distance, I kept freaking out, expecting it to be that weird guy following us. My friend teased me about it the entire night, and still teases me about it to this day. About how I made friends with the creeper in the bathroom who liked my shoes.
Hannah, tell Mommy what you're eating. How much food you're
We're eating chicken nuggets and some stinky
Hannah?
yogurt.
What'd you eat other than chicken nuggets?
I said yogurt. No, not yogurt.
Blah, blah, blah.
Put your balance. And the first.
Here comes Nala. Nala? Did you get Hannah too? Nala, should we go find Hannah? Do you think she's hiding in the closet? Let's go find her. Having fun at the fireplace. Having fun at the fireplace, yeah.
Show one to the camera, hand. Let's see. It's like I flipped. Flip on my hand. Oh, look at this treasure trove.
Hannah, where are you going?
This way.
Like a hostess.
That's what you learned in class? Where are you going?
Hi Oddings, it's your Ate Sapphire. Stick around at the end of this episode for additional stories. And don't forget to subscribe to Snarled and turn on the bell for notifications.
Hey, I'm Sapphire. Want to hear something scary? The Little Medium.
The following is based on a true story from AJ. AJ lived in the Dominican Republic until she was about 5 years old. She was a very imaginative child. That's what her grandmother would call her, at least, whenever AJ would start telling her stories. They weren't so much stories as they were moments. Very descriptive moments in time that AJ would randomly begin sharing. Like the one about her getting stuck in a tree. She described how she clawed her way up with all 4 limbs like a cat, and how she could hear people yelling her name down below. She could describe in detail all of the houses on the block, and how they looked in a blur as she fell towards the ground. She had another story where she was swimming in the Pacific Ocean, a place she had never been, and yet she could remember all of the buildings that lined the shore, how the water felt, how the pier looked from the ocean, and how peaceful everything was underneath the water. Now, how can you say these things when you've never been to the Pacific Ocean? Her grandmother asked her one day. I have, Grandma, AJ replied. She pointed to her head. In here. Suddenly it clicked. Her grandma realized that AJ may not actually be making any of these experiences up, but instead recalling past lives. This is a very real phenomenon among young children. They recall memories that they couldn't possibly have experienced themselves. Like one case with a little boy in Oklahoma. He would constantly yell, "Action!" as if directing a movie. He'd have dreams where his heart exploded while he was living in Hollywood. He talked about owning a big house with a swimming pool. His mother ended up borrowing a bunch of old books about the history of Hollywood to see if she could jog her son's past life memory. And sure enough, he pointed to a man in a photo, an actor named George Raft, and claimed that was him. His mother tracked down the man's daughter, who was able to confirm all of the boy's experiences to be true. AJ's grandmother had known about this phenomenon and was pleasantly surprised to know that her granddaughter had the gift. The only thing that didn't exactly add up was how inconsistent her stories were. Sometimes she was a man, sometimes she was a young girl, sometimes she wasn't a human at all. AJ's grandmother then came to the conclusion that she might be remembering the past lives of other people. AJ's grandmother never discouraged her from sharing experiences when they came to her. She actually enjoyed them, and she was sad to see AJ go when she moved to the United States to be with her mother, Monica. Her grandmother traveled with her and, upon arrival, told Monica about her daughter's special gift. But Monica didn't believe her. She's a kid, Mom, Monica said. She's just making stuff up. It's what kids do. After moving to New Jersey, AJ didn't share as many experiences as she used to. Maybe it was because she was 5 now, and studies have shown that that's the average age when children stop recalling past memories. Many believe it's because that's when children start to develop memories of their current lives. Or maybe AJ was really hamming it up for her grandma. Whatever the reason, AJ wasn't as imaginative as she used to be. For about a couple of months, at least. Monica had a really close friend named Kim. They had been friends for a very long time, and AJ thought of her as the older sister she never had. Kim would often babysit AJ while Monica was at work. One day, Kim and AJ were feeding ducks at the nearby park. Out of nowhere, AJ started crying. What's wrong, sweetie? He burned you. What? Who did? Tracy. Who's Tracy? He was angry you left him. He spit on you and threw gas at you. He held you down and put a lighter to your face. You screamed as you melted. Kim's face turned from worry into anger. Do you think this is funny? Are you trying to scare me? Why would you say such horrible things? I'm sorry. Kim immediately took AJ home after that. When Monica came home from work, Kim told her about the upsetting things her daughter had told her. Oh, AJ, Monica sighed. I thought you were done with these stories. I was just telling her what I saw. Kim had moved to another state shortly after. It wasn't until 5 years later that AJ saw her again. It was Christmas, and Kim arrived with a ton of gifts for AJ. They had both forgotten about the awkward incident at the park, and everything felt just as it was before. AJ happily fiddled with her light bright in the living room while Kim and Monica were catching up in the kitchen. She overheard that Kim had been living in Tennessee with this guy she met, Tracy. Wait, why did that sound so familiar? AJ's ears perked up, and she scooted closer to the kitchen to eavesdrop. I had to get out of there. His moods were so unpredictable, his drinking was getting worse. I just never felt safe in that house. You're safe now. You know that you can stay here if you need to. Oh, no, I don't want to impose, please. I'm staying at the motel across town. I'll be fine. Okay, well, I'm always here for you. Thank you. The next morning, Monica texted Kim to make sure she was okay. Everything's great. Thanks again for being there for me, read a text from Kim. A week had passed and Monica hadn't heard from Kim again. She thought maybe she'd worked everything out with her boyfriend, or maybe she'd found a new place of her own. Monica and AJ were eating breakfast. Monica was scrolling through her Facebook newsfeed. She almost choked on her food. I don't believe it. Kim is dead. How did she die? AJ asked. She was burned. Wait. All of this sounded familiar. Why did this sound familiar? Monica thought about what Kim had told her 5 years ago. She thought about what her mother had told her about AJ's ability to see past lives. She was starting to think that maybe it wasn't the past she was seeing. Monica stared at her daughter, who burst into tears. I tried to warn her, Mom.
Like and comment and share and subscribe and hit that bell like see more scary time reaction. Thank you for watching. I see you in next video. Bye y'all and love y'all.